Hello and welcome to another lesson. Today I'll be teaching you guys and gals about the holdup problem. So the holdup problem in the topic of managerial economics is one that is quite complicated because there are many intricacies as to, number one, how the problem arises and the various terms and vocabulary that is associated within defining the problem. So the best way to explain the holdup problem is by using an example. Let's say that our firm is manufacturing cup holders for car manufacturers. So here is our firm. Let's call it Cup Holder Inc. And we have recently struck up a deal with another car company, Ford. Now, as you may know, Ford has their own car models, and the cup holders that we are currently making do not fit Ford's specifications. So what do? We make a contract. And of course, as we know, some issues that come into contract making are issues such as bounded rationality, as well as limited information processing, and thus this contract becomes slightly ambiguous. Now keep that in mind for later. So we have this slightly ambiguous contract because of the innate human issues that go into this negotiation. And in order to create and manufacture these cup holders for Ford, we need to have an investment in place. So let's call that investment I. And this investment could be something like the specific machinery as well as the manufacturing, the factory to actually manufacture these special cup holders specifically for Ford's specifications according to the contract. Now, this factory is an investment of, let's say, $1 million. Okay? So now that we have this investment in place of $1 million, we can begin to manufacture these cup holders for Ford. When we consider our cup holders, we can say that our costs of manufacturing these cup holders is $5. And the price that we are originally selling to Ford is PF, price for Ford, $10 per cup holder. Meanwhile, we know that Ford isn't the only company in the car industry. We also have Toyota, for example. This is and so now we have two players. So let's say that we have made the investment of the $1 million and we have the factory in place. And according to this contract, we are now manufacturing 1 million cup holders for Ford. That's the deal. That's the contract. However, after we manufacture all of these cup holders, Ford says to us, but wait, the specifications of your cup holders aren't quite what we wanted. And that is where the sense of ambiguity comes in. The ambiguity of the exact specifications that Ford wanted. And so as a result, Ford denies to pay us $10. Why does this matter? Because companies that are not Ford, that we haven't struck up a deal with, that we don't have a contract with to manufacture cup holders for them, are, for example, Toyota, that are only willing to pay $8 for these cup holders. Why do they only want to pay $8? Well, it's because the investment that has gone into the machinery for manufacturing Ford's special cup holders doesn't quite fit Toyota's specifications of what cup holders they want. And Toyota might decide, we will buy the cup holders you are originally manufacturing for Ford, and we will adjust them in-house. We will adjust them ourselves in our own Toyota factory. Still, we have the same cost. We have the exact same cost to produce because we are not changing to Toyota's specifications per se, because after all, we still have this contract with Ford, and the investment is identical in the case of Toyota. And so what happens is that Ford, again, said that our cup holders don't abide by their specifications. As a result, Ford says that we would only like to pay $9. And so here is where the holdup comes in. The holdup problem essentially is giving rise to, or is given rise to, the difference between the quasi-rent, the difference between the rents, sorry. And the difference between these rents is the quasi-rent. So what is the rent? The rent is the profit that our cup holder Inc. here, is making by selling our cup holders to Ford. So let's scroll down here and figure out the rent for Ford. So the rent is, of course, how much Ford is paying us, $9, minus the cost it is to produce. So $5 for us to produce, or manufacture rather, these cup holders for Ford. And then minus that investment into the machinery that is a relationship-specific type of machinery that is only used to produce cup holders, especially for Ford's car models. And that is $1 million. But wait, I completely forgot. There must be some kind of quantity of cup holders that we are selling. And we have said that that is also $1 million here, 1 million cup holders here. So what we have in the end is a situation like this. So you might be asking, well, why is it that Ford can charge us or is only willing to pay $9? Well, it's because they are holding us up. The reason they are holding us up is because the second best option being Toyota over here, that rent that we are earning if we are to strike up a deal with Toyota, which is the second best option, is less. So let's figure that out here. So the rent that we have in case the contract falls through, so in case the contract is canceled with Ford and we sell our cup holders only to Toyota, is the same exact formula, which is the $8 less, again, because our specifications of the cup holders don't quite abide by what Toyota wants. We have, again, $8, which is the price, minus the cost that we are producing it at, and then again, minus our investment here. And silly me, I again forgot to add the quantity. We are assuming here that Toyota also wants to buy 1 million. Right. So here's where the quasi-rent comes in. Now the quasi-rent is the difference between the rent we can earn with Ford and with Toyota. So that is essentially the difference between these two guys here. So let's figure that out. We have 4 million minus 1 million, which is 3 million. That is the deal we have, or the rent rather, we have from Ford if the contract is a bit ambiguous and they have leverage over us and say the specifications of what you wanted to charge $10 for is not quite what we wanted, and so we are now only demanding you to charge us $9. That is this 3 million over here minus what Toyota would pay us for our cup holders that don't quite abide by their specifications, which is why they're paying a lower price than Ford would, which is $3 million minus $1 million. And that is, again, also a $2 million sum. And so the quasi-rent is $1 million. So what is the holdup? Well, the holdup is essentially Ford having leverage over Cup Holder Inc. by saying that if we drop our price or the demand that we want, the demanded price that we think is best, then they have leverage over us because the next best price that we can charge another car company is only $8. If, however, Ford proposes that they only want to pay $8, then the quasi-rent is zero, and they have zero holdup because we can equally manufacture the same thing, the same cup holder, and sell it for the same price to Toyota. Furthermore, if Ford says that they are only willing to pay $7.50 for the cup holders, and Toyota is still willing to pay $8 for our cup holders that don't quite specify to their demands or their car models, then we have leverage over Ford. So that is essentially the holdup